Would you say that the bisexual male experience and the gay male experience are very different?
Oh, 100%. So there was this research they did. They found the majority of gay men had come out as bi on the way out of the closet. But the problem is when so many gay men have done that, it's created a stigma. Oh, you come out as bi and then you come out as gay.
And how do you think a woman would react to a husband coming out as bisexual later in life?
It's usually really bad.
What would the fears be that come up? Or
Oh my God, I can't believe he's gay.
Say for a man, they just stay with a woman, they live that normal life, and they just never accept or never talk about the fact they're attracted to men.
That happens. And then you know what happens? They get to about 40 years old and then they email me.
We'll just start by saying that it's like 30 degrees outside or something, is it?
Yeah, okay. It's something like that.
So we're going to look a bit shiny compared to
Yeah. Maybe
how
there'll
we
be a
both
filter they
normally
can put
look.
on.
Yeah, they haven't really cracked video filters yet, have they?
No.
So you are very in the bisexual world because you are a bisexual man. You've done lots of writing, podcasting, interviewing, meeting other bisexual people. So I suppose this interview, you will be coming from a position of knowledge of the large amount of bisexuals that you've interacted with.
Yeah, from their experiences, and I have an advice column too. So a lot of it is what are the issues that people write to a bisexual agony uncle about, and they call me Britain's most famous bisexual.
Britain's most famous bisexual.
But that was them to call me that. I wouldn't call myself that because there are lots of other
You should run with
bisexuals in
it.
the country that are doing brilliant work.
Well, you could run with it. Put it on a t-shirt. The description of this podcast, I've put it as it's an interview and docu-show for gay men, right?
Mm-hmm.
By me saying for gay men, am I then excluding potential bisexual men who might enjoy this show, do you think?
Yeah, I think that there would be some bisexuals that'd be like, oh, it's made for gay men, like everything. Why bother? For me personally, I'm like, oh, great, you've pulled all the gays together. Great, I've got a few things I want to say to them. Like I do with a lot of different podcasts I go on, or whatever it is. It's like, oh, actually, like that's like bisexuality slots into so many things. So
did you ever feel listening to it that you were excluded or sidelined from the conversation?
No, you know what? One of the things I'm sure we'll get onto is that when you are bisexual, there is always a feeling of being a bit not enough, in the sense of you're never enough in the straight world or you're never enough in the gay world. Now, I have got 3 kids and a female partner, and I'm getting older. And so actually listening to your podcast where I'm like, what's going on with the gays these days? Because I feel a little far removed from it now. Like, I've obviously got my gay friends still, but, we're not like out till 3 a.m. And the things, I don't know what all these porn stars and gay for pay people are doing. And it's like, oh, actually it's quite interesting. So it actually, from my point of view, helps me stay a bit connected with a culture that I feel like I'm a bit far removed from now.
Okay, that's interesting. You might not feel directly spoken to, but you enjoy tapping into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been almost a decade since I bottomed, but it's great to hear what's new in bottoming these days.
Same. Would you say that the bisexual male experience and the gay male experience are very different?
Oh, 100%.
Why?
There's almost I don't know what we have in common. There are too many different factors. So I think one would be we don't know the gender or sex of the person we're going to end up with. And that's hugely anxiety inducing. So as a gay man, from say if you discover your sexuality at like 13, 16, whatever, you sort of know where it's going. You know that you're not going to have biological children with the person that you choose to love. So you can sort of think about that from a really young age of like, okay, well, do you want to adopt? Do I even want kids? Well, maybe let's see what he's like. Stuff like that. Whereas bisexuals, I feel like, when you don't even know stuff like that, like, will it be legal to get married to who I love? So I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty about how your future will look until you're settled down, and biological kids and all of that kind of stuff is a bit of an issue. We're not as connected as gay people, if that makes sense. So you get a lot of bisexuals that don't have any bi friends, which is really isolating for them. Like, I think isolation is one of the biggest things. Like, when people write to me, they'll be like, I don't know any other bisexual men. Like, I read your article, it was the first time I'd ever heard anything from another bisexual guy. So there's that isolation, whereas I feel like gay men, by and large, are really quite connected. Like, they generally know other gay people. Gay men tend to have shared experiences, right? So as I could put you in a room with 10 other gay men, I'm sure that you would find things to talk about and things that you had similar. Bisexual people, it's such a different spectrum. You could have 15 bisexuals in a room and they still don't really have anything in common. You know, I've only ever dated women. Oh, well, I've only ever dated men. Oh, I'm a virgin. Oh, I'm sexually attracted to this, but I'm romantically attracted to this. It's like, it's always such a different thing that actually there's not much to gossip about in a weird way.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like it's just very different.
Do you feel that gay men fully accept you and bisexual men in general?
No. It's a very multifaceted problem, so let me take you through it. So there is research on this that shows that the majority of gay men identified as bisexual on the way out of the closet. Totally fine. Like, in my mind, it's like, well, you know, coming out is hard enough anyway. Do it the way you want. Like, it's fine. So there was this research they did. They found the majority of gay men had come out as bi on the way out of the closet. But interestingly, what they found was that the majority of those men didn't really believe they were bisexual at the time. They sort of knew, but they were easing out of the closet. Again, fine. But the problem is, when so many gay men have done that, it's created a stigma. It's created a stigma that, oh, you come out as bi and then you come out as gay. And a lot of people that know gay men have got a reference for it. It's like, oh, you know, Dean came out as bi, then he came out as gay, and blah, blah, blah. So my perspective is, that's unfortunate, but fine. I'm not going to judge you for doing that. But when gay men then do that and then will say, that's my experience, so I think that most bi men are just coming out as gay, that's where I get really annoyed. It's like, you can't discredit bisexuality and show people, oh, it was just a phase, and then, like, basically endorse that phase and say, yeah, it is. I actually feel like you have some work to do to be like, oh, look, it was a phase for me, and actually I probably knew at the time that I wasn't really bi. Bisexuality is a valid thing. So that is kind of a tricky thing. And what goes on is that I think that there are a lot of gay men that don't really believe bisexuality exists. When we look at our community, bisexuals make up about 52%, like over half of the community is bisexual. And we're not getting 52% of the effort back out.
That is really surprising to hear.
What, that it's 52?
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't have known that.
And you know what, statistic-wise, like, you always get a bit of some dodgy statistics here and there, but pretty much that is consistent over about 10 years of research. So and from different places in the world, it's always 52 to 57.
So if you go to any, let's just say, Pride event where there will be a sort of a pool of LGBT plus people, 52% might say, I'm bi.
Yeah. The statistics will show that we do the worst in every way you measure success, and often the worst in the LGBT, which is always covered up. But from earning potential to mental health to health outcomes, like, there are so many reports that will show bisexuals do the worst that you would find. And what tends to happen, and I'm not saying this is always done on purpose, but in a lot of them, say if it's mental health, you know, they'll say like, oh, if the statistic is like, oh, you know, 57% of bisexuals have had a mental health struggle, and, you know, 26% of gay men have, they then will say LGBT people have, and they amalgamate it. And you often sometimes don't realize that bisexuals are doing quite phenomenally worse.
So you touched on it a minute ago, but it is something that I read online before you sat down, and it says that the level of suicide, depression, and anxiety is highest for bisexual people. And I don't know whether that was in reference to the rest of LGBTQ or whether that's just in terms of the actual population of the world where the bisexuals are suffering the most in those fronts. Is that true?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I always find is with the statistics, if you find it in like more than one places, then it's generally true. And it's like over time and different locations, like Australia do research, US do research. Bisexuals have always done higher for mental health issues. And it's really hard to say why, because there's not a lot of research that's ever done on bisexuality. So you kind of get these snippets of, they've got really bad mental health. It's like, what do you mean? And we didn't do any more research. Like, that's just it. It's like, but why? What are the triggers? So obviously from working with them, like I feel that I know some things. And like I said, I think a lot of it is in the closet. Like, depending on what statistics you look at, only around 12% of bisexual men are out of the closet, compared to like 76% of gay men. So that's huge. That's a huge number of people that are later on in life feeling like, I can't be honest about who I am. There's something wrong with me. So that's a big issue. Isolation, again, as I said, is a big issue. Feeling like there's no one around me that gets me. And I want to talk about bisexuality, and actually I'm at the mercy of gay men's opinions. So they know gay men and they're all like, oh no, bisexuality, don't be so stupid. And I don't feel like I have anyone that I can connect with on this. And then also I think being invisible, kind of always feeling like no one sees you. If you're in a male on male relationship, people see you as gay. If you're like me, married with kids, people see you as straight. It's just a very isolating sexuality at times. And I never want people to hear me talking about bisexuality. Like my absolute nightmare would be like a young guy or girl is figuring out they're bisexual, then listens to this podcast. It's like, oh my God, like I'm screwed.
Yeah,
like
you're definitely not coming out now.
Yeah, definitely not coming out now. Like, you're not screwed, but we have to talk about these issues.
Okay, so one thing I've wondered, and is that for bisexual people, say that you are equally attracted to men and women.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say if I was to be bisexual if I was to be bisexual, and in my teen years I was able to have sex with women, so therefore I slipped under the radar in terms of my attraction towards men, because at university I could have genuinely got with girls in clubs, brought them back to my house, actually had sex with them rather than lied about it, and I could have played the role of straight guy way better. So because I would have felt that externally I was a straight guy that everyone thought I was, I was actioning that straightness by genuinely having sex with women that I was attracted to, that there would be no need for me then to come out. I can safely just live a heterosexual life. So therefore, do you think that there's a lot of bi people that just choose to stay with a woman, say for a man, they just stay with a woman, they live that normal life, and they just never accept or never talk about the fact they're attracted to men?
Yeah. That happens. And then you know what happens? They get to about 40 years old and then they email me. Because I think we've been doing the advice column for 4 or 5 years now. And the number one question I get, like the most common thing anyone emails me about is, I'm a man. I knew I was bi. I got with a woman. You know, we've had 3 kids. We've got the mortgage on the house, got married. And I woke up this morning and just realized I've been playing a straight character for her all these years. She doesn't know the real me. I don't know if she actually loves me. Like, would she ever be able to accept this about me? And also, I've put up with enough of her crap over the years. Like, why shouldn't she have to accept something about me? How do I come out to her? People feel like, I don't want to die without knowing whether my wife loved me or loved the straight character I was playing.
And how do you think a woman would react to a husband coming out as bisexual later in life?
It's usually really bad.
And
I've coached a lot of men through it. It doesn't go great. That I obviously have the tips that I share with them of like, okay, this is sort of how you need to approach this and how you need to do it. But it's not easy because there's a lot of prejudice there, because there are a lot of women that will not want to date a bisexual man. It's a big issue for them.
So let me imagine I'm the straight wife and you've just come out to me. So say we got together at uni.
Yeah.
So I'm slightly playing the role here. So we got together at uni.
All right.
At 18. We married at 27.
Ooh.
We got kids. We've been together and now we're 45.
Okay.
You are bisexual, but you've only ever told me that you're straight, and we've had sex throughout the entire period without any sort of clues that you might be anything otherwise. And then you say to me, I've never told you this, but I also have sexual feelings towards men. Am I within my right as the woman that's married you and thought you were straight for so long to assume that conversation now means that you want to go out and exercise that sexual, sexual frustration that you've been feeling all these years? Is that conversation the start of the bisexual man going, I need to exercise this now? Or do you think that it's right that fear is is what's going to go through the woman's head.
So that fear is going to go through her head, whether that's right or wrong. So the first thing I always tell them, well, we've kind of jumped straight to the coming out thing, because what I usually tell men is, number one, broach the topic of bisexuality with her. Like, put on a TV show or something, just to gauge her, like, oh, bisexuality, Mark from work is bisexual now. Just gauge her reaction when it's nothing to do with her, just so that then kind of like where she's going to stand on this realistically. So that's number one. Number two is so I'm going to come out to my wife. I'm like, you're not qualified to come out to your wife yet. What are you talking about? You've hidden this for your entire life. Go to a bar and come out to a stranger. Like, you need to get some experience coming out to people. You need to get some experience of fielding these questions of what people are going to come back at, because she's going to come back with a load of questions. So don't discover your bisexuality and go straight to the most important person in your life and come out, because you're not going to be able to give them what they need. You need to get some practice. Go and tell some strangers. Go and tell some friends that you could easily cut out of your life. When it comes to the actual coming out to your wife, the biggest question you have got to answer is, how is her life going to change? So is it just that you're telling her this as just an FYI? As like, look, this is just how I've always felt. Like, men are hot, blah, blah, blah. That's it. Like, I'm not looking to sleep with anyone else or open our relationship up or anything like that. Like, that's how it is. I don't even want, like, us to really discuss this ever again. I just want you to know. Or, so I would like to, occasionally be able to be like, oh, he's hot, isn't he? Or stuff like that, or whatever it is. If it is that you think that you might want to have an open relationship, then you have to kind of have that conversation then and say, look, I would like to explore this. I don't know how open to it you would be. Like, would you want to explore with other people? Would we do things together? Like, you basically need to have a bit of a proposition you're bringing to her.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you think that, so going back to that role play, do you think that the moment in which a man decides to come out as bisexual to their wife is the crunch point in which they can't not want to hook up essentially with a guy? It's been so many years, they're watching porn like secretly, and it's at that point where they go, before I'm dead or an old man, I need to be with a man, and that's what typically happens. What's the crunch point?
Some people do, but some people don't. And I think that and one thing I always say to men in that situation is, like, if you want to go and have sex with a guy, it's not going to be as good as the porn or the fantasies that you've been watching. Like, he's probably going to stick it in and you're going to scream and run out, or it's going to last like 7 seconds. Like, it's not, you've spent these years fantasizing about something that is going to be over quite quickly, and it's not worth a marriage. This isn't always uniquely a bisexual problem. Like, think of it, because the other way I will come at this is, like, think of yourself as a straight man. You sit your wife down at 45 and you say, you know what, you were my first and I was your first, we had sex at 16 together, and I've never had sex with another woman, and I don't want to die of only having sex with one other woman. Would you mind us opening our relationship up now that we're in our 40s? Think of it that way. How would you expect her to react? So it's the kind of, like, almost, I say a lot of times, don't use bisexuality as the excuse. Like, in that situation, you're saying, I want to have sex with other people. It doesn't really matter if you're gay, straight, or bi in that situation.
Do you think that in this scenario it would be, and I don't want to take away from how difficult it must be for anyone involved, but do you think that it would be easier to understand for a wife to hear, I'm gay, I haven't been honest about my sexuality through 20 years of marriage, and that will probably lead to the marriage ending. Do you think that's easier for a woman and a wife to get their head around versus I'm bisexual?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I guess with bisexual, there's still the chance that the marriage and the relationship can carry on as is. Whereas on the gay side, it's like, this is totally got to end. And then is it a bigger betrayal? Because it's like you were never really attracted to her, but you must have been on some level attracted to her. Whereas like with a bisexual, it's like you were part of this sexuality. And the other thing that I always say, because I do find this helps when men come out to their wives, is remind her she's always been in a relationship with a bisexual. Like, the news is new, but she's been with you for 20 years. And that sometimes can help when they're like, look, what's really changed? We're still the same people. It's just that now you know something else about me.
But do you think that so I imagine that the wife's biggest concern with their husband coming out as bisexual later down the line would be that I'm not going to be able to satisfy you wholly, and that there will always be a niggling thing in me that you're going to leave me, versus someone that comes with, I'm gay, or I've fallen in love with another woman even. Those things are very final, whereas I imagine that the insecurity that this then sort of brings to the relationship is something which the women very much find challenging.
And that's what they have to work on as a couple, is that, you've rocked the boat essentially. You've messed with the foundations or whatever, like it's made things unstable. So you have to just work on rebuilding that trust and kind of saying, this is our relationship. I just want you to know this about me. Like, I don't want to act on it, or I do want to act on it, or whatever it is. Like, this is how it's going to be, and this is why you should still believe I'm going to love you 10, 15, 20 years down the line. Like, and that's really individual. That's where I can't help. That is like your relationship. That's what you've got to kind of figure out, knowing the person.
That was all very interesting.
What I will say is that I do think that bisexuals discover their sexuality later in life. So don't think it's not like a game plan. If I spoke to, 15 gay men, I would say the majority of them would say, they'd either say I always knew, or it's kind of around 13. They'd be like, oh, I was 13 and I knew. I didn't know I was bisexual until I was 19. Like that, and that is not uncommon. Like a lot of bisexuals I speak to are like, yeah, I was like my early 20s and I discovered my bisexuality.
And was it Zac Efron in High School Musical?
It was not. Although maybe, I mean, this is the thing, because you kind of like, you're going back and doing a post-mortem of like, so did I just move to London and turn bi? Like, surely not.
So if we look at LGBTQ+, biphobia comes a lot from that community itself. So when you think of biphobia, you might initially think, okay, well, this is straight people who are making your life hard. But you think it's actually LGBT+ people which make bisexuals' lives hard.
Yeah. The way I actually got into all of this was a gay guy being rude in a bar. So I went to, do you remember O-Bar? Used to be in Soho. Anyway, they did like jugs of cocktails for £12. Those were good days. Anyway, friend had a birthday party there. So that's where you meet like extended friends. So I met someone I didn't know there. And he was like, are you dating anyone? And I was like, yeah, I've just started dating this girl. And he was like, girl, oh honey, you're gayer than me. Like, what are you doing? And I was 2 cocktails in and just like ranted at him for like 10 minutes. So that was how it all started, just from a gay guy coming up to me and just being like, bisexual, don't be so silly.
So the comments like that, the comments you receive which piss you off and other bisexual people, you would say comes from other LGBT+ people. It's not straight people giving you these comments.
I mean, not exclusively. So I if you were to ask me, and I'm a bi guy, I would say it's LGBT community is a lot of comments come from there, and then I feel a bit annoyed because I don't feel like enough work is being done there. That's not to say that there isn't some good work being done, because there are. So don't tweet me because I don't read them. And then the other hard one is the women, because
some women.
The other hard one is the some women, because as one bisexual guy said to me before, and I didn't really have a good answer for it, he was like, Lewis, there's already so many women that don't find me attractive. If I then come out as bisexual and reduce that number to 35%, which is the amount of number that of women that would date a bi guy, like there's no one. That's like 2 people. And that is quite tricky. And I know a lot of bi men that have kind of said, you know what, forget this. I only want to be with a woman that's okay with bisexuality. So they've put it on their dating profiles, and no woman has ever swiped on them ever again. That's a really common story. It's like, if you're open about bisexuality on a dating app with women, you ain't getting swiped on. Then bisexual men are not going to come out because they're not going to ruin their chances. And then 40 years later, you're messaging me, and then the wife's like, what? It's this vicious cycle. And here's my thing, is that when you're talking about this stuff, you've got to be very careful, because what I don't want to be like is saying, you have to find bisexual men attractive, like pulling my top off, like, how dare you're a bad person. Like, I don't think you're a bad person if you're not attracted to bisexual people. What it comes down to for me is the why. So if you're not interested in dating a bisexual person because it's just not vibey, it's just not right, you just, it's your hormones, fine. if you don't want to date a bisexual guy because you think that they're secretly gay or they're going to cheat on you or whatever, like that is discrimination. And I think the reason I've done so well over the years is that I'm actually not that judgy. So I'm not judging anyone in that scenario. Like, you feel how you want to feel. That it's just, this is what I hope my work is doing, and what I wish the LGBT was doing more is like, okay, well, if women think this way, like, let's re-educate them. Like, Sex and the City did a lot of damage as to how women see bisexual men because of that one episode where she dates a bisexual guy and it goes terribly wrong. Actually, maybe we need more bisexual people in the media and more bisexual stories. Let's get people familiar with, yeah, it's normal. And let's highlight some of the good statistics. We talked about such negative statistics, but there's the research that came out of Australia where they actually researched women that were dating bisexual men. They said the sex was better, they were better fathers, they were better partners overall. Let's highlight some of those where it's like, I mean, you know, there are so many stereotypes of what bisexuals are like, but no one really knows any of the positive ones, which is that bisexuals generally, when it comes to women, are like better than straight men in bed.
Well, let's
make that bigger.
Funnily enough, I was listening to a podcast yesterday with Grace Campbell. Do you know who she is?
I recognise the name.
Yeah, she's got a podcast. She was interviewing Charlie Craggs, who's a trans activist.
Love Charlie.
And they were both saying to each other how straight men are very challenging to date, and that they're now in the market for a bisexual man because at least they've got one sort of leg in the LGBT. They want to date gay men, but obviously they can't. So they're like, oh, a bisexual man is the closest I'm going to get to a gay man.
Yeah. So, and I think that things will change, and I think that once you get more women that say, I love dating bi guys, then more women will consider it. So it's just one of those things where there's prejudice, and it's just so odd in a time where we've moved forward with so many things. It's like, some of the people I speak to, they're just like the most progressive people in the world. Like, I'm where they draw the line. That's insane. Like, you're okay with everything, but me, I'm your line in the sand of like, oh, not bisexual though. I wouldn't go that far.
Do you think that other bisexual people feel part of the LGBTQ community, the popular LGBTQ community?
Some do, but I think a lot don't. I know there's been a lot of research that has obviously found out that we've received discrimination there, but there is also a lot of research to say that bisexuals don't feel part of the LGBT. Their LGBT identity is not that important to them, and it's because, you know, why would you want to hang out somewhere where you get discriminated against, where you feel like, well, no one's really helping me here anyway, and you're closeted as well, and a lot of people are hiding it, so they don't want to be seen in that LGBT environment because then they've got to explain you. So I said to you, the most common thing I get is men that are in relationships. But the other one that is quite common now is bisexual men that are seen as gay by the world, but feel really inferior. And I think that's a really odd one. Where the email will be something like, you know, I realized I liked men when I was 16, so thought I was gay. And I've had like 3 boyfriends since. I've only ever slept with men. But I've realized I really like women. But no one's going to take me seriously. Like, my friends are not, after all of this, going to be like, you date a girl. And then also, why does a straight girl want to date me? Like, I'm camp as Christmas. Like, I've only ever had experience with men. But that is my sexuality. I'm bisexual. Like, what should I do? And feeling inferior in that way.
That's interesting, that sort of flip side of it, which is I've been gay for so long and now I want to acknowledge that I want to have sex with women.
Yeah.
How are my gay friends in the gay community going to see me now? That's an interesting thought.
Because even I lost a lot of friends, like, when I actively came out as bisexual, if that makes sense.
I want to talk about dating for bisexual people.
Okay.
So, with dating, is it that you think it's always best to tell the person before you go on the date, so either when you're chatting them up, you're talking to them online, whatever, that you are bisexual, or do you think it's something that you can just slip into conversation on date 1 or further down the line?
I think it depends on gender. I always say do what you're comfortable with. If it were me personally dating now, I would probably, knowing what I know, like, wait till date 2 or 3.
Okay.
Because I do, like, it is such a turn off for women that I would kind of be like, let her get to know me a little bit, and then like, I mean, I'm different. I'm saying like if it were me, and I wasn't me, like I'm Googleable. There's like no getting away from it. So, but I feel like for other people, I can understand why you'd be like, I'm just gonna wait a date or two and then drop that in, because then at least she's gotten the chance to know me. Whereas, you know, not saying she's a bad person, but if she just reads about that on my dating profile, I say it in date one, she might be like, ooh, because she hasn't had the chance to get to know me.
So you think it's easier not to put it in your dating profile because everyone dates online now, and to just rock up, let them like you, and then calmly share that news with them. So do you think if we were to flip the script, it's easier? Do you think straight men will not find it so challenging to hear that a girl they're dating is bisexual?
Yeah, I think that is not as big of an issue for straight men. It is still an issue for some. Like, there are definitely instances where I've heard of like people being funny with it. The problem with the bisexual women face is the over-sexualization. So the idea that a girl will be like, oh my god, great, so we can have threesomes, where we can have two girls in my bed, and that idea of over-sexualizing of bisexual women. So whilst they might not struggle in that way, it's not a happy story overall. I mean, unless she's into that.
Had you ever been on apps like Grindr or any hookup app?
Oh yeah, the good old days.
Yeah. So did you feel the need to tell guys in that context that you were bi, or did you just kind of crack
I don't think
on?
they even cared what my name was.
No one cares.
It was never really an issue. When I was in the relationship with my ex, the only thing was, I remember the girl, he had a friend that he was really close with, and she said to me, yeah, but you don't get 30-year-old bisexuals, do you? You have to pick one eventually. And that really always stuck with me, because I didn't stand up for myself in that moment. And also that my boyfriend was there and heard that and was like, didn't stand up for my sexuality. And it's obviously because he probably believed it too. And so I do feel like, whilst a gay guy is not going to be like, oh, you can't come over, like you're bisexual. From what I hear from people that reach out to me, it's still like, there'll be guys that'll be in relationships, they'll be like, my boyfriend doesn't like it when I call myself bisexual. That's quite common.
Okay.
So it's like, I'm in a relationship, but I'm not really accepted in my relationship.
Okay, so I want you to give me some responses that you've heard, either based on people that you've spoken to or things that have happened to you yourself when it comes to dating.
Okay.
So the most common comments you get from a straight woman when you come out as bi, when you're dating them.
When you're dating, well, people aren't mean to your face. So in that sense of like, I remember like when I was dating, it was like, oh, that's okay. And then it was just sort of like, there was no next date in that sense. So a lot of this bisexual stuff is really like, it's not blatant and in your face. It's kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Well,
what would be the internal dialogue, do you think? The voice in their head? What would the fears be that come up? Or the
oh my god, I can't believe he's gay. I can't believe he didn't tell me this. I can't believe he's going to cheat on me. Like, it would be that kind of stuff. There was a guy I was speaking to recently who's bisexual, who he'd been on a few dates with this girl, and he told her, and he was like, she physically recoiled. She was like that. He's like we'd had sex. It's like, but she was just not. And you think
the thing that goes through her head is, you fucked a guy and now you fucked me.
Yeah.
Wow. What about the most common comments you get from a gay man that you would be dating? And let's not use the word comment, but what would their internal struggle or dialogue be when you come out as bi?
Oh, for God's sake. I feel a bit, oh, for God's sake. You know, he'll find out eventually. Yeah, right. I don't think like gay guys... I feel like it's more with gay guys, not all, obviously. I feel like it's more dismissive, as you say, rather than feeling threatened. I don't think they're so much threatened that you're going to run off with a woman. I think it's more just like it's just a bit embarrassing that you're still struggling with saying you're gay.
Do you think then that it's just easier to date another bi person?
Not necessarily, because I think sometimes opposites attract. So they say not all bisexuals get along. I think there are a lot of bi people that have that logic of like, oh, I'd rather date a bi person. But one thing I always say, no matter who you're sort of aiming for, is like, you cannot go into your sexuality with a game plan. Like, you can't say I'm going to end up with another bisexual in the same way you can't say, because this is the other thing that I guess is put it by men. It's like, oh, you just want to have a load of sex with men in your 20s, and then you're obviously going to settle down with a woman and have the nice car and kids and family and blah, blah. And I'm like, that just does not happen. You can't go into your sexuality with a game plan. It's not like you're going to be dating a guy that you think is really hot, you get a place together, and then all of a sudden, like, an alarm goes off on your phone, and it's like, oh my God, I promised myself when I got to 32, I'd be with a girl, so we're going to have to break up and sell the flat and blah, blah, blah. It just doesn't happen. You meet people along the way, and you, like, fall for them, and you can't help it. And it's like when I met my fiance, I'd only been single for 6 months. I was literally like, oh, why have I had to meet you now? Like, why? Like, I wanted to be single and slutty for like a good 3 years. I can't believe you've shown up now. So it's like, you can't go into your dating in general with a game plan. Like, you will just meet someone and it's like, oh.
Is your partner bisexual or straight?
Straight.
Was it that she knew you were bisexual from day one?
She knew that I was bisexual before she met me. Basically, we met at a house party through a mutual friend. So the mutual friend had been like, oh, you're going to meet Lewis tonight. He's this bi guy. He's crazy. He's only recently single. He's like a slut on steroids and blah, blah, blah. And actually, I mean, I can tell this story. I'm sure I've probably told this story in other podcasts. When we met, I was in a bathroom at this house party with another guy. And we got locked in. And we, you know, where it's like, it's got too awkward now. It's like, well, we're going to have to ask for help. Like, we're locked in. And so we were like knocking on the door, asking someone's help. And like this girl on the other side was like, I'll get you out. And like got a screwdriver and opened the door. And I literally fell into her arms. And I was like, oh, my hero. And that was her. And then we literally just like, I don't even know what happened to that guy. Then I just spent the whole night talking to her. So it just never really bothered her. But then, you know, I wouldn't be with someone where it was an issue.
Yeah.
So I obviously had a lot of experience being in a relationship with a man. And when two men are in a relationship, it's very sort of equal. Whereas actually when you're with a woman, like there is still a certain role you have to play. So the easiest way to explain this is, back when I was in East London with my boyfriend, me being a good boyfriend would be like, if he texts me late at night that he was drunk but he's on his way home, I would think being a good boyfriend would be waiting to press start on the next episode of whatever we were watching together. If my girlfriend messages that, I would go to the bus stop and get her and walk her home. And that's expected.
Right.
And so there are things that you fall into like that. And even just sometimes the like gay men are very touchy-feely. And I remember that was a bit of an issue. Like, I'd like be hugging my friends, they grab my ass and like throw me in the air and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, how would you feel if my straight friends grabbed my ass and threw me in the air? It's like, oh, actually, you're right. And so I feel like there's never been an issue with me by being bisexual. There's just the odd cultural issue of like, that you learn early on, like, oh, that's not appropriate.
Okay, that's really interesting, actually. It's like pulling a toggle to know that I'm now with a woman. There are a certain
like
set of expectations here versus when I'm with a guy.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it is what it is in terms of there's a slightly more physical equality. There's a more societal expectations are lessened with what you need to do in terms of chivalry or general manners or safety and all that. There must come a level of expectation with how women expect to feel around people and how they expect to be treated and stuff. Yeah. Which you've definitely felt when dating women.
Yeah, I feel like it's a pothole a lot of bisexuals fall into. You just don't really realise that you get to I joke that I had to relearn sexism. Like I had to relearn, oh, actually you don't just do this. And when you've gotten so comfortable in just a gender neutral, I guess, relationship, right? You're the same gender, there's no roles. It's just something you have to relearn. And it's not a terrible thing, but even like dating, like I remember I lived with two girls at one point when I'd just become single, and I was going on this date with a girl, and they were like, "Oh, what's happening with the bill?" And I was like, "Oh, well, when I go on a date with a guy, like we either split it, or if he wants to top, he'll pick up the bill."
That's the hidden code.
Yeah. But you know, and they basically were laughing at me at the idea that I thought that we would probably split something, and I was like, "Oh, so as the man, like even though like the world is changing and stuff, you're still expected to pick up the bill," because it's not just the change of like bisexuality from relationships, but the culture we live in is changing all the time anyway as well. So it's very hard to know whether you're coming or going. And you gay people and straight people are so particular. Like, it's just hard for us bisexuals to keep up sometimes. Like, oh, what are you funny about now? What? Okay, well, all right, I'll buy it. Whatever.
Do you think that your girlfriend, your fiance, has received comments from her friends which are negative towards her dating a bisexual person?
Not from her friends, but I know it was very weird feeling a bit guilty when you date someone that's straight, in the sense of you feel like you painted a target on their back. So...
Like her parents or her family or anything?
Not really the parents or the family, but so for example, she was in a gay bar in Manchester really early on and said to a group of gay guys that she met out that night, was like, oh yeah, my boyfriend's bisexual. And they were like, that's disgusting. Like, do you know how few men are attracted to other men? Like, you could be with any straight man. Like, that's like 90% of the population. Like, he should be with a guy if he's attracted to guys. Like, weird things like that. She's been told, like, oh, you're not worried he's going to cheat on you? Are you not worried that you're going to catch HIV? Like, those are all things that have been said to her. And I'm like, oh, you wouldn't have this if you had just dated a nice little straight boy.
But I suppose that she is open-minded enough and I suppose strong enough to just let that brush over her, right?
Oh yeah, she doesn't care. Like, it's weird. Like, she wouldn't really be bothered about all that stuff. She does read the comments sometimes on things. Like, when I'll have an article, I'm like, stop reading the comments because I don't read them. Stop it.
Yeah, that's
rule
for life.
I think she's more like she gets annoyed at what's said to me than anything that's said to her, if that makes sense.
You touched on it a second ago, and this is something I'm particularly interested in, is that you're in a unique position, as are other bisexual people and people that date both men and women, and more so have relationships with both, because I'm curious, how has your experience of the world been in a relationship with a man versus a relationship with a woman? So you would have gone to a restaurant with a man, gone to a hotel and checked in with a man at the front desk. You would have walked down the streets holding your girlfriend's hand versus a boyfriend's hand. I'm just curious, because you've lived both of those, what is your observation on how the world treats you as either a straight presenting person or a gay presenting person?
Well, it's hard because I live in London, right? So you're not going to get... It does happen, obviously, discrimination. I know this sounds weird. Like, this is totally like throws everything out of the water that people talk about. I guess when I was with a guy, I felt a little bit like safer in the sense of, well, he's 6'2", I'm only like 5'10", like he can fight.
Whereas you need to assume the role of protector.
Whereas when I'm with my fiance and kids, it's like, well, if someone starts, like, it's me that's gonna have to throw the punches. So, and I loved like standing back with him. Like, I remember once our flight got cancelled in Australia, and I was just like, get us a hotel room. I could be the demanding person in the relationship, and he like had to go, and he got it, bless him. So there was a lot of like, oh, you sort this for me. So that was quite nice.
But when you say London, yes, but did you not go elsewhere with?
Yeah, but we went to like San Francisco and Gran Canaria.
Okay, right, yeah.
So we knew our audience, but you know that then factors in. It's like, well, why didn't we go to Dubai? Like, why didn't we go to other places? Like, because we would not, get on well there. So that is a hard thing to experience when you kind of like, well, you're getting that empathy of like what it's like to be a gay man, right? Because you're dating one. It's like, oh yeah, we can't just go anywhere. Like, we have to think about this. And actually, not to be prejudiced, we've gone a bit north. Should we be holding hands? Like, there's definitely been like things like that. But
we've gone a bit north.
Whereas obviously you don't think...
What line in the country do we say to each other? We've gone a bit north.
I don't know. Oh, God. Let's see, I'll get hated for that.
This is something that I read online when I was researching you. I don't know if this has come from you or someone else, but it says that studies show that only 12% of bisexual men are open about their sexuality. Mm-hmm. So that means that 88% of bisexual men that are alive today, wherever this study was conducted, are in the closet. So therefore, what you're saying to me is over half of the LGBT plus population are bisexual. There is a shitload of other bisexual people out there that haven't come out yet. Mm-hmm. So
wait for the bisexual revolution. I don't know. There's just a lot of like people being repressed when it comes to sex and relationships in all senses, not just in sexuality, but what people like in the bedroom, how they feel like they want their relationship to be. So it's just always been a funny topic. My hope is that things will change and that people will. What has to happen is it has to become destigmatized to be dating a bisexual. Once you've got, oh, my partner's bi, or people saying, oh, I love a bi guy, then people will be more out about it. And then once people are more out about it, I think it will pick up pace.
So the biggest fear, based on what we've spoken about with some women, is that they assume that you will want to be sexual with a man, which is something they can't provide in the relationship. So as a man that is in a relationship with a woman, can you, as a bisexual person, say that is something which you don't need to be concerned about? Or can you say, no, I genuinely do get the itch I need to scratch?
So I would say, like, we've been in a monogamous relationship for, 9 years, so for me, and I was a bit of a slut before, like, I love the man. I've just found, like, if the sex you're having in your relationship is good, like, you don't need to worry. So if it's fulfilling, like, if you're like, actually, this is great sex, I'm too exhausted to look anywhere else anyway. And it's not to say you won't have, like, urges here and there, but, like, I would now be terrified if an erect penis was pointing at me, because it's like, I'm so out of practice. What would I do with it? Hit it. So I feel like there's this idea people go to, oh my god, you just must not be, like, able to sleep because you need both. It's like, you don't need that. And I always think, take the sexuality out of it again, where it's like, look, your husband's hormones, your straight husband, his hormones didn't die when you got married. He still sees women walking around the streets that he would love to have sex with, but he chooses not to. And part of the reason he chooses not to is A, because he's made a commitment, but B, because your sex life is presumably more fulfilling. You know, bisexuality isn't something that makes you more likely to cheat, because I'm sure statistically straight men are more likely to cheat. It's about having your relationship be sexually fulfilling is what I have found is the key to keeping it happy. Whether you're gay, straight, or bi, like, don't use the bisexuality as an excuse. Like, oh, well, better not even try because I haven't got a penis. It's like, there are many, because to your point that statistically wise, 82% of bisexuals are in opposite sex relationships. So it works. Like, the majority of bisexuals that are in relationships are in opposite sex relationships. So it works and people are fine. Yeah, of course there are probably bisexuals that go out there and cheat, and there are probably a lot that have open relationships, but I don't, as long as everyone's happy in those relationships, that's fine.
And I suppose if you're going to cheat, you're going to cheat anyway.
Exactly.
So if you're a straight guy with a straight woman and your eyes are wandering, it doesn't make a difference whether you're bi or straight.
Exactly.
If it's in you to cheat in that relationship, it's going to happen regardless.
Cheating is a personality trait, not a sexuality trait.
You said that before.
I think that's a chapter title.
So you're a father, you're married to a woman, you've got 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Something I'm interested in is, how do you explain bisexuality to your children? Because if you're a gay dad with another dad, the kids see dad and daddy. If you're a straight couple, they see mum and daddy. Whereas for you to explain that they see mum and dad, but daddy also fancies other daddies, how do you explain that? Or is it something that you don't even feel you need to explain?
No, so especially in my situation, it's like, well, if you don't say anything, they're going to discover it, because Google. So with my stepson, who is 16 now, there was a conversation about me telling him, like, oh, I should just let him know, because, again, like I said, when I was dating a woman, I was a bit worried about putting a target on his back, as in, like, oh, you're saying all this publicly, what if the kids at school tease him because his stepdad's bisexual? So I was a little bit worried about that. But basically, my other half and my stepson were on a bus one day, and he was, like, young, and he was just asking, what is gay? Okay, what is lesbian? What is bisexual? Oh, is that what Lewis is? So he kind of, like, asked straight out, strangely. And then for me, it's just about keeping that alive, that they don't forget. So, for example, just like low-key little things. Like, we were watching the TV, and Joel McDommett was on, and my stepson's like, wait, what's his name? Joel Mc-what? And I was like, Joel McDreamy. Like, just little it doesn't need to be or like having fun with it. Like I said to him before, in case there are any girls or boys you like at school, and he was like, girls, and I was like, Are you coming out as straight? Like, having fun with it. Like, it doesn't need to be so serious. And then with the younger ones who are 3 and 4, you know, when we get to it, I mean, I'm as vain as the next person. So, like, when I was on the cover of Attitude magazine, that's on a frame on the wall, as is, like, when I spoke on Pride's London stage. Like, there's enough pictures of Dad with, like, bisexuality on his t-shirt that will come up at some point. I was actually speaking to a bisexual the other day that had reached out, that wanted to tell his daughter that he was bisexual, and apparently she had changed the background of her phone to the bisexual flag colours, and he asked, "Oh, why have you done that?" And she was like, "'Cause I'm bisexual." And I was like, "Oh, classic, the kid beat you to coming out." That happens a lot in people that write out. But I liked that idea of, like, well, I was like, well, now you should put the flag as your background if you want to come out. So that's, like, you know, just low-key ways to do it. What I would hate to do is sit someone down, like, "Children, come, father has something to tell you."
Yeah.
Like, what a way to stress everyone out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just want to wrap up with knowing what it is, if it is LGBT plus people that make bisexual people's lives harder than they need to be. What is it that LGBT plus people can do to help bisexual people?
Believe us. So think a little bit about, you know, when someone is bisexual, not being like, come on. And that does happen. So I think believing bisexuals, I think being aware of the issues, like, okay, so what, because I think the other thing is like, oh, well, bisexuals, you're fine because you've got the straight bit and then the gay bit is taken care of. Like, what could possibly be your problems? Like, find out what the problems are. It's like, we feel isolated, we feel invisible, we feel inferior oftentimes. We think that we're not straight enough to date a woman, and we're not gay enough to be with a gay man, and we don't feel like we belong in either community, and we feel like we can't put a foot right because, oh, women like this and gay men like that. It's like, it's quite overwhelming. And then we turn to drink and drugs that we do higher in, and then our health is, but it's like this constant situation, and we struggle to come out. Like, just be aware of those issues. And then I think if you are in positions of power in LGBT spaces, ask yourself, have we spent more than 1% of our annual funding this year on bisexuality? Because they do make up 52% of the community, you know? Like, what have we done? And I swear to God, if someone's like, oh, look, we painted a bench the bisexual flag colours, I actually don't know what I'd do if someone does that to me again. It's like, how am I helped by your bisexual bench? I don't care about your bisexual bench. Like, actually do some real work. So I feel like there's so much to be done. It's not crazy stuff. Like, we don't need to, like, kick open the gates of Parliament or change the law or anything. And that's why I think that maybe it's like, it's unsexy stuff. It's like actually changing hearts and minds. So, oh God, that's complicated. So I don't know. I would just hope that people would be more aware of the issues, be nicer. As I say, and I know we've had fun here. Like, obviously, I know it's not all LGBT people and all women, but it is a lot more than you would think. And I'm not going to apologize for that in the way that no one else would expect, you know, anyone to apologize for pointing out what white people are doing or what straight men are doing. Like, no, I'm not going to apologize for it because it comes from there, not from all of them, but from some. So, we're going to title this episode "Some."
Well, it sounds like a very easy thing for particularly gay men, because gay men watch and listen to this, and I am one of them, is to cease any joke around bisexual people not existing and that you haven't made your mind up yet. That sounds to be a very common and infuriating thing for bisexual men. But I just want to say that this interview was fascinating.
Was it? Oh, thank God.
Never had the chance to sit down with a bisexual person and quiz them about their life and their experience as much as this. So I found that really valuable. And it's kind of the reason that this podcast exists. So I just want to say thank you for coming. Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Well, Lewis, thank you.
Thank you.